This is Dr. Quinlan with Quinlan Chiropractic Clinic from Coppell, Texas, and you're listening to the Dunham Business Radio Show.
Live from Arlington, Texas, it's the Dunham Business Radio Show. And here's your host, Lori Dunham.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are raring to go. We are kicking off. We're having a great day here in Arlington. I hope that your day is awesome as well. Thank you so much again for all your support and everything that you do to help our show take our guests and our audience to the next level. I mean, we can't do it without you, and I'm so grateful. So as we get started, once again, we have an international co-host with us, who's Dennis from Germany. Welcome back, Dennis. For everybody who's new to the show, tell everybody what you do over there in Germany.
Well, I go to school right now, and next to school, I do a lot of graphic design, and also here for Dunham Business Radio when I'm not a co-host.
That's right. You do some of our graphic work for us, and we're really excited that you do that. You really have some great skills. So hopefully this is bringing you some clients too.
I hope so.
Well, did you have a chance to have a pre-interview with our guest today?
Real interesting.
That's awesome. So I'm really excited to bring him on and introduce him to the whole wide world. Why don't we just jump right in, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him. Rogers Vigne is the owner of My Digital Self. It's a career coaching agency that provides career development and coaching services to individuals, organized groups, and small to medium-sized businesses. The concept is this: the way we're taught does not align with the way that we learn. So his business helps their clients in the discovery of their career niche and professional development potential, and they focus on productivity and daily efficiency that aligns with the greatest output. Now, he's here to tell us all about it and help us to understand more about what he does. So please help me make welcome to the show, Rogers Vigne. Welcome to the show, Roger.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
We're delighted that you were here too. So Rogers, let's just jump in. Tell our audience a little bit more about who's Rogers. Who are you?
All right. So my name is Rogers Vigne. I'm born and raised in the awesome city of New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm the oldest of 5 brothers. Okay. So I grew up a big brother. Grew up having to coach and kind of help along my younger brothers growing up. So I'm kind of a natural at this particular role that I do now. Avid Saints fan, for those who are football people out there.
Who that?
Who that? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also outside of coaching, I write creatively, and I do some powerlifting. So that's me.
Awesome. So what was your business background that actually led you to start your company?
So I have 20 years of experience in the project management field. That's both on the business and the tech side. My bachelor's degree is in computer information systems, and my master's is in organizational leadership. So in doing project management, we have what's called a methodology, a process of how you manage a project. You know, the source, the genesis of project management comes from construction. You start from a foundation and build up. And companies started using that thought process on how to manage projects in the corporate world. So that's the discipline that I learned and mastered operating in several roles within the project management space. When it came to doing resumes, I had a systematic approach in how I did my resume and how I managed my career. So people liked how I put my resume together. So I found myself helping other people put their resumes together. In the process of me doing these resumes for people, I like to own the entire experience, which is one of the things you do as a project manager. You kind of owning the entire development experience of a person from the beginning all the way to the end, and also owning the outcome. So I found out that I was doing resumes for people that didn't even like the jobs I'm doing their resumes for.
Oh,
And
wow.
that wasn't a great feeling, right? I didn't feel like I was giving a good service. Yeah, I'm helping you get this resume. Yeah, you got a job now, but you're still miserable, right? So I started asking questions, trying to figure out how can we get this person, these individuals, in doing the right type of job so I could do a resume for that. And with the project management background, the reason I brought that up is because I applied the project management process to the human condition when it came to coming through the discovery and strategy purposes process for a career, and boom, I came up, with my own methodology. So it's my approach that makes it different. As far as how I handle career coaching, I don't sit down and ask you, okay, what kind of job you want to do, and let's get you there. I say, let's go through a journey and discover who you are professionally. That's going to tell us the type of job you need to be going for, as well as the path that career path that's going to take you. And let's create a series of resumes and milestones that you can go forward with. It's almost like creating your own syllabus for your own degree plan for the rest of your career. So that is more conducive to the progression and the evolution of a person's career than just getting a resume and getting a job and hope one day somebody gives you a raise or gives you a promotion.
Yeah. Wow.
So that also kind of flows in the conversation Dennis and I were having earlier, because and Dennis made some great he has some great insight from his perspective being in Germany versus getting education in the US, as our we were talking about our approach. And think about it, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and also if you went to college as well, you were given, take these classes, and you have to make this grade to get to the next level. So from kindergarten all the way through, you walk across the stage in college with a degree, you've been given degree plans, you've been given syllabuses, you've been given the teachers, everything you need to do to get to the next level. And then after you get that degree and walk across that stage and say, go into the world, and they say, okay, now go figure it out. You don't get no syllabus. You don't get no degree plan. You don't know a grade. You can't go to work with your job boss and say, did I make A today? You have no idea. So you have no way of knowing. You don't have the levels for yourself defined, and you don't know what you're going towards, and it's all arbitrary because the world, it flips, and that's why a lot of people don't achieve the level of success they've achieved in scholastic school, because the world is completely different when you switch between the two. This process that I've created help people bridge that gap so they can continue their evolution since they're already used to that process.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And first, I want to go back and commend you about the project management. I have project management experience as well, and so to be able to take those skill sets and apply it to your business, that's extraordinary, because a lot of people just see work or for an employer to be different from your business, and to be able to take those skills that you learned at an employer, whether it was one or many or hundreds, and apply that into a business to help other people, I think is probably the greatest way to start a business, to take the skills you're learning and use them to help other people, not just start a business for your own benefit, but to be in the benefit of others. So being able to discover people's journey and their true assets, and developing a resume around that, I think is brilliant. That's just the best way to serve humankind, I think. So
yeah, so basically I'm holding up a professional mirror. This is you. So a lot of people, how you don't know what you look like until you look in the mirror, You think you may look one way, then you look in the mirror like, oh shoot, my jacket's off. These colors don't really work for me. You need that mirror. So basically I'm holding up a professional mirror like, did you know this was you? Now oh, I'm dressed for the ball, or I'm dressed for the gym, or I'm dressed for whatever. The ecosystem that your professional profile would fit the best to be the most successful.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking with your clients, what do you find are the most challenges for them to understand what you're doing? Like, because when somebody wants to get a resume, right, that's a task, right? They just coach me to get a good resume so I can get a job, you know? And then when you start to hold up that mirror and you have conversation with them with, are you sure you want this kind of job? And we're not like doubting them, but we're, you know, you are diving in and looking at an inventory within them. A lot of people don't like to look at the inventory. They don't like to uncover all the stuff that's piled inside. How do you dig down deep and overcome some of the challenges? And what are some of the challenges that people have said to you in that journey?
Well, what I've learned is that, like you said, and you hit the nail on the head, some people are not ready, right, to do that. Look, just I just need a resume, I need a job, leave me alone, let me just go. Those people are not my client. You know, that's what I've come to realize, because it's almost like, you know, hey, you know, this Lamborghini, you know, is amazing and you can afford it. Man, just give me a car. You know what? This is a Lamborghini. Let me give you this Ford Prius and you roll with that until you're ready for the Lamborghini. You know, well, I really want a Lamborghini. Well, this is what's required. So people have to want it. I can't make somebody want the higher version of self and then walk them through the process at the same time, kicking and screaming. That's not my role, you know, and that's something I had to realize. So, you know, because from my perspective, in my role, it could be extremely tasking, you know, to work with individuals like that. And at the end, you know, I am completely worn out, they're frustrated, and the outcome, which I'm huge on outcomes, may not always be optimal. So to answer your question, they have to already be ready. So sometimes I like to deal with people that are ready for transition. That's why transitions is a huge word in my descriptor, because you have to be ready and looking for that transition. A lot of times when you're hungry, you know, when the student is ready, the master should appear. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Wow, you really touched on a pivotal aspect of business. And, you know, I interview a lot of people, as you might know. We've done over 100 interviews in the last year and a half. And I have to tell you, like, very rarely have I heard anybody, if anybody, actually, now that I think about it, really nail this concept. So, you know, I want to just talk to the audience for a second. Listen to this. It's so important what Rogers just said. Not everybody is going to be your customer. Not everybody is going to be your client. So you can't drag your customer to the top of the mountain of success. They need to have a desire, a want to go. And when they're ready, you can guide them there. But you cannot drag somebody to success. Please put this in your mind, write it on your board, put it in front of you. Not everybody's going to be your customer. And I know sometimes in small businesses, you know, when you're a one-person shop, particularly because you're just dealing with yourself and your own beliefs about, well, I have a great business and everybody's my customer and everybody could benefit from what I've got. Well, maybe they can, but it might not be the right time. It might not be the right situation, you know, and maybe somewhere down the line in the future, they would love your product or service, but they have to be ready. And so, man, Rogers, you've just, that is like the pivotal moment right there, the pivotal theory. And I don't know if you want to, do you have anything you want to dive in a little deeper about that? Because I think that is such a critical thought process for business owners that, you know, you have to be able to walk away.
Well, the entrepreneurial journey, which is a whole different conversation, is extremely personal. It's an extremely personal journey, and it's very, very customized to you. And, you know, you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of deep downs. But, you know, once you get what you work through, all the different aspects of you, because you have to become somebody else to be what you want to be. It's like you can't be the person that you are today and take that same person and put them into being a U.S. senator. Can you become a user? Absolutely. But along that process, you literally have to become a different version of yourself so you will be effective as that. It will be unfair to take you from one day, put you from here. Imagine if they took the Lori from 20 years ago and put her on a radio show, hosting a radio show.
No one would listen. I guarantee it.
Right. So Lori had to become a different version of Lori to be able to sustain and run a business radio show. So it's a process. And for services like mine, you have to, again, like I was saying earlier, you really have to understand who your true customer is and stay and live in that niche. Otherwise you will drive yourself crazy. One of my favorite examples of this is I'm actually a quick question. Have you ever seen a commercial for Lamborghinis on TV?
No. I've seen YouTubers showing them off, but I've never seen it on TV.
Right. But the reason why Lamborghini will never have a commercial on television is because Lamborghini knows that their clients, their customers, are not watching television.
That's right. They're not on the couch.
They're not watching the shows. They're not watching television like that. They're never going to see their ad. So it doesn't make any sense for them to put an ad on television for a Lamborghini, because that's not where their customer is, which tells you something about their knowledge of their customer, and also tells you something about their customers, right? Yes. So the understanding the mindset of the people that you have been training yourself and preparing yourself to serve, goes a long way.
I just had a brainstorm. Of course, this happens a lot on the show. I have brainstorms, but a great icebreaker when you're talking to a potential client is ask them, if time and money were not an issue, what kind of car would you drive? And if they say Lamborghini, Audi, oh, I really like the new Toyota, then kind of where their mindset is and where their commercials are playing, if any. So you know how to reach them, right? Because somebody who drives a Lamborghini doesn't have the mindset of driving a Toyota. They know the best of the best. And boy, we could ride this analogy. I'm sorry, I talked over you. What'd you say?
No. I was just saying it's truly a different world, inside the brain. You live in a different world. You think about different things. You're basically you are a composite of the last 21 days of your experiences, and you create your experiences based on what you spend your mind thinking about. You could really recreate yourself. You could really recreate yourself every 90 days, literally a different version of yourself. You want to see what version I am today? Let me look over the past 90 days and see what my focuses have been, where have I spent my time, what have I been watching on television, what I've been listening to. You take a composite of that, and that's the definition of you. You could take a snapshot every 90 days, and you'll see who you are based on your experiences.
Wow. So I'd heard about that. So that's science-based, because I heard about that as far as your body. When you want to lose weight, for example, or you want to get in shape, build muscle, you have 90 days. So that's why you take a picture in the beginning, but you focus every day for 90 days, because at the end of 90 days, your body literally will change. And that's if you're sitting on the couch eating Cheetos for 90 days, or you're doing something else for 90 days that is more healthy. At the end of 90 days, your new version of yourself.
The layer of skin is not even the same layer of skin anymore. That layer of skin is completely dead. The layer of skin that you have on you is not the same layer of skin that was on you 90 days ago. It's literally it's the you that's coming from the inside out that's being produced on a constant level. On my website at mdself.com, I have a chart that breaks this down. It takes you from 1 second to 1 day, 7 days, 21 days, 90 days, 6 months, 9 months. And the 9 months is when you literally birth a complete new version of yourself. You can, if you say you met me today and you go 9 months from now and I decide to live somewhere, let's say I decide to go to Germany and I go live in Germany for 9 months, I will literally be a completely, absolutely different and new person in 9 months, Dennis could probably speak to that a little bit too, because he was here for a year in the U.S.
Yeah.
and which is over 9 months, and he came back. I know he came back a different version of Dennis than he was when he left.
Yeah,
Just off of being a version.
Yeah, that just popped in my head. Dennis, what do you think about that? Do you feel like you were a completely different person when you got back to Germany?
I wouldn't say a complete different person, but I changed a lot. After I returned, I made so many new friends. I lost a lot of my old friends because we didn't fit together anymore. And like I grew by myself so much. I saw so many things from a different perspective, and I just grew, and it's so beautiful just to see that.
That is
Yeah,
so
exactly.
awesome. Yeah.
See, he said something important. Remember I said your circles changes and it'll be small as you evolve, because unless he had a couple of those friends come with him to share that experience and grow along with him in his perspective, he's not going to fit. He came back and he didn't fit in the same. He didn't come back the exact same Dennis with the exact same friends and the exact same things as before when he left. It's impossible.
Absolutely. That's outstanding. It's the best analogy that I've heard in a long time. And so now we're talking right now on the side of the employee, or are we talking about the potential business owner? But let's talk about the actual employer. Like, let's talk about big company, right? That has several hundred employees. Some of those managers, vice presidents and whatnot, what are some things they can do to help engage with the employee, help them with productivity, career management techniques, things like that, that can really gel together the team and help their employees find their inner person? Do they just come and hire you?
Well, that would help. But also I have a different, and I'm doing this in my doctoral studies right now. There's a different approach to how you hire and how you would manage your employees, because you have to understand the basic human nature of people. People are selfish. Not selfish as in I don't care about other people way, but selfish as in what's in this for me, or with him, what's in this for me way. So if you create many corporations within each one of your employees where they're working for themselves, and make sure that those goals are also in alignment with the company is doing, now you'll create you'll create a monster that will be run on its own. Like, for example, for the guys out there, I'm gonna use a quick sports analogy if you don't mind. The head coach and the owner of a team could want to win the Super Bowl all they want, but unless every last player on that team wants that ring for themselves, they don't care about nobody else, no about the city, anything. All that player wants is that ring. See, the ring is what the player wants. The championship team that's bringing more money into my business and help me buy a bigger stadium and all that stuff is what the owner wants. The city wants to be able to say, we have the best team. That's what they all want. They all want the same thing, but for different reasons. So to understand the reasons behind what is this employee what is their rank, find out what their ring is, and create their goals around that ring that's also in alignment with what the company is doing. And you won't have to motivate and inspire. They'll be motivated and inspired themselves looking at their ring every day. And while they're chasing that ring, they're also chasing the things that you want for your company. That is that will be the overall culture that I would institute in a situation like that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's such a deeper level. And when your boss or your management leadership team can help you become a better version of yourself, the whole world changes. It's the transformation, the mindset changes. And you're right. When I think people go to work, they just go to work. They go to do a task and get in and get out and be done. It's like prison sentence or something. But when you have an employee that really takes that ownership of that, I'm sorry, I talked over you again.
No, that's okay. That's okay. The important part for the business is that the business thinking, as I said, that the business that, well, shoot, that benefits them, but does it really benefit me? You know, the level of productivity for people that are just working just to work is looking about anywhere between 30 to 40% max. People that's working for themselves, you're looking at to get up to 80 to 85% worth of productivity, which is almost double. And that's without you having to pay more. That's without you having to promote more. That's without you having to add any more amenities to your, any more bouncy balls or better, greater coffee to the coffee. That's just people deciding, hey, this is me, this is what I want. And what I'm doing here is helping me get closer to that. That's without you having to add anything else. That person's fire inside gets lit at that point.
So I think that's another key point for the employer, is that if they looking across their staff, looking across the range of all their employees, and they see somebody that, clocks in, they're on time, they do what they're supposed to do, they clock out for lunch, they come back, they leave on time. Okay, most employers see that as a model employee. But then there's those employees who, okay, might be a couple minutes late in the morning. They might work through their lunch. They might stay till 7, 8 o'clock at night, especially in this virtual world we're in. You don't really log out at 5 o'clock. And so they're working late. They're working hard during the day. Their work is stellar. They don't ask for any breaks. They don't smoke, so they don't get a smoke break. When you're in corporate America, you have to go down the stairs and out the door. That's a smoke break. Well, how many times do they go smoke, or how many times do they walk away from their desk when there's somebody else who, may have been a little bit late in the morning, but man, they never take a smoke break. They go to lunch, they work through their lunch, they go downstairs to get their lunch from the cafeteria, bring it to their desk, and they're still working, and the employer harps on the person who's late and says, you're 3 minutes late, you're 5 minutes late. Well, I've also put in 80 hours plus in 2 weeks' time. So I think it's really important for an employer's perspective is look across the whole range and see, yes, you got your typical idealistic and model employee, but look at these other people who are giving you twice as much productivity as more of a mindset of they own that company. They're in it for the benefit of, having that satisfaction of saying, I'm a part of something bigger. And when they can be acknowledged in that area instead of beat down because they're 3 minutes late for work, that helps with their morale, right? And that helps them stay for a longer time. When bosses don't recognize that, those people who, they give and give and give, and then they get burned out and go, you know what? Why am I doing this if I'm just going to get written up all the time? I'm out. I'll go do another company and I'll do it over there and see if I'm rewarded. So what do you think about what about that?
Well, there's a couple things about that. The first version of employee that they're on time, taking lunch, clock out on time, that person, and I would say I'm going to speak about 7 years prior to today, would probably end up getting promoted faster than the person that you mentioned before, that, maybe a couple minutes late coming in every now and then, but their productivity is stellar. They're working through and they're stay late, whatever. That person, it's almost like that person is seen as a worker ant. So I'm just going to use that person as a worker ant for people that fall in that category. And I'm use this person who I can rely on to be available at XYZ times to manage those worker ants for me. That's the perspective. It has nothing to do with productivity or abilities. Anything is about who can I trust to help herd the cats, for me. Now, the killer is that model has worked for decades. That Lori, I think you and I can speak. I think you're probably, in your upper 20s or something like that. You look kind of young, but I'm in my 40s, right?
Wow,
so,
thank you. You're my new favorite guest.
That worked back then. So that worked back then, but today, these millennials, you have anywhere between 1 to 1.5 years before you show them or they experience where they're making any kind of impact. If they don't get that, whether they fit in either category, they're gone. They're out. They're not going to work at a job for 5 to 7 years at minimum before they start thinking about, oh, should I get promoted, or should I get a raise, or should I have opportunity to work on XYZ project, or whatever the case is. They're gone. So the ecosystem that's come, these new wave of workforce, and they make up over 50% of the workforce now, that they've come in and they have a different mindset. That's why they're having retention issues now, because they're not sitting in there as those worker ants working like that anymore, and they're not willing to sit there as that person that fit that other structure as well. They have to feel like they're making an impact, whether it be externally or internally. They have to feel that, and if they're not getting that, just like a YouTube video that needs to make me mad or laugh or educate me in the first 10 seconds, then I'm out. That's just how they're wired now.
Wow. Yeah, that is so great. Now let's talk about the employee who's kind of stuck in that roller coaster, right? They, excuse me, they start at a job, they feel really great about it. They're all in, they put in the time, the effort, they're on time for work. They go to their lunch, they do what they need to do. They're productive. They try to fit that 8 to 5. But then over a period of a couple of months, it starts to shift a little because their internal mindset is taking over subconsciously. And so they start now working late, putting in more hours, doing more for the team, putting in more effort because they want to make more of an impact, right? That's their desire. But the employer doesn't see that. They don't see that they're doing all of that subconsciously because they want to make an impact. And so the employee then will continue for, like you said, a year and a half. They'll start to evaluate subconsciously, what? Is this really making an impact for me? Am I making an impact for the world? Am I helping the company in any way, shape, or form? What benefit is there of that for what I'm doing? My efforts, where's my return on investment is what they're thinking. And so when they have to really, when it comes down to it, they end up leaving that job. Well, you go through that roller coaster ride over and over. Eventually, now you're starting to, maybe that employee is starting to think, man, I can't hold a job. I'm not a good employee. I'm a loser. I can't hold anything. I can't be stable. Society comes down hard on them. Man, you've not been at a job longer than, this. What's wrong with you? How come you keep getting fired? How come you keep quitting? How come? What would you say to that employee that is kind of overtaken by their internal flame, their internal desire for impact, and it's kind of like taking over their life, and they're kind of, they wake up and they see themselves in this pattern. What would you say to them to overcome that guilt and that sense of lower self-image because they just can't seem to stay in it? Did they just leave corporate and go start their own job, do their own business, and do whatever they're going to do to feel like they're giving an impact? Or what would you say if somebody came to you with that roller coaster pattern?
So Lori, think about the project management process, right? One of the first things you do is you outline what the current situation is, and then you outline what the optimal situation is, and then you start looking at the deltas, and that tells you what you need to work on. And another important piece that's going to address your question is that you agree on what the key performance indicators are and where they need to be at a certain point. Short as KPIs. So if you can get into that rut and that roller coaster like you suggested, if you don't have a very specific goal or a series of goals that you're actually working towards throughout the whole process, what you described is like, I'm walking to the College of Business, and I'm just going to walk into classes and take them, and hopefully some series of these classes I'm taking will get me a degree. No, you're not going to approach it like that. You're going to say, okay, what is this job? Whatever these, because people need to approach their jobs not as in this place I go to so I can make money to pay my bills at home, so I can watch Netflix. It's like, am I going to get professionally? Where is this job going to take me to my next stage professionally, and work it with that type of mindset and ahead of it. So this job is a project manager level 1. It calls for me to work on these type of skills, and it tops out at this pay rate. And this defines the best version of the person that does this job. Okay, so I'm gonna work this job until I've mastered it. Once I begin to master it, now I'm starting to look at, okay, what's the next thing? So while you're doing that, it's almost impossible for you to get into that rut that you define, because you're not working and doing the extra to get the boss over here to tell you that, get that validation over here. You're working a plan. He's benefiting from you working your plan because he's getting the high level productivity out of you while you're there. Now, if he wants you to stay on the team, it'd be good for him to create a project manager 2 level for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or to give you opportunity to create something else. Because once you hit that plateau, you're going to be gone. You know, think about any sports player. Once they hit the plateau of the pay at the team where they're at, that contract needs to be renegotiated. We only won these last 10 games because of me for the most part. And I know that, and you know that. So either we're going to have to renegotiate this contract, or I'm going to call up the Dallas Cowboys because Jerry Jones loves me. Okay. So, so you have to have that type of approach, and that negates the opportunity for you to fall into that type of rut like you're describing.
So as an employer, what are some key areas that we could focus on to help employees reach a plateau, discuss the plateau, move up to the next level, so they don't get lost on that, where the employee doesn't leave at the plateau, that first level? What are some things an employee can look for, or an employer can look for, to help their employee get past that first plateau and then onward from there?
So I think it really starts at the recruiting and hiring process. Of course, some people have an inherited situation, that will have to be handled, a little bit differently. But it's all about the hiring process. So you know what it is that you're hiring a person to come in to do, and to do well, right? And when you sit down with that person, it's good for you. Like, as a coach, what I want to know is what do they want this job to produce for them? Okay, what is it ultimately? Is what I call the result of the result. And I'm actually going to write this up in a book later on. The result of the result. It's like, for example, the result of me working at this job is me getting money. But the result of the result is that I'm able to travel to, 2 or 3 worldwide destinations a year. So if I understand that the result of the result for this person here is to travel, have the ability to travel, then I need to keep that in mind for them as they're working their plan and they're thinking about the next stage. I need to say, okay, what roles do we have that will give this person an opportunity to travel? That's how I can keep them, because I'm providing for them the result of the result they really want. And that could be different from one person to the next, so that's how employers can do that for their people, is to understand what their base need is. Because think about it, if you're recruiting a CEO, or recruiting a COO or whatever to come and work for a company, they're not just throwing money at them. They say, okay, what is it that you want? That's what the perks, that's what they call perks. I need access to the private plane. I need access to this resort. I want to be able to go to this conference once a year. I want tickets to the Oscars. Whatever it is, whatever the result of the result is, that's what's ultimately going to keep people loyal and working towards that, the objectives of a company, because they're actually working toward the objectives of themselves.
That's really awesome. So like in a business owner, right, a small business owner, when you go out there and you jump from corporate and you're doing your own thing, we're always told, find your why, know why you're doing that. And so in other words, an employer can find out the employee's why. It's not just about showing up. Everybody wants to show up. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to pay their bills, but there's something more. So it really just goes down to what impact do you want to make, whether you're an employer, an employee, or a business owner. Wherever you fit on the spectrum, you have a desire, you have an impact that you want to make. And that avenue is going to either be somebody else's business or your own, one or the other.
Right. And Simon Sinek actually has a wonderful book called, Start With Why. It's one of my favorite books as well.
That's right. Start With Why. It's a great book to get you started. Yeah, for sure. Man, this is a great
But
conversation.
my process that I've created, my methodology, walks them through a process. So by the time they get to the end, their why is defined.
I'm sorry, you broke up. Say that one more time.
No, I was saying that that's what I've incorporated into my methodology, because by the time you get to the end of my process, your why is defined, and your overall theme and mission and goals, as well as the objectives to meet those goals, which rolls up and gets the mission done, are all defined by the time you finish the process and work with me. And on top of that, so your plan, where you're going for the next 1, 2, 3 years, as well as you have not just one resume, but a couple of resumes for the next level roles that you're going to go to, because you're going to need those for where you're going. So that's how I'm able to condense a lot of those understandings into the process.
I think that's really great too, because if you look at a resume, it's always talking about what you've done and the objective statements at the top, and it's usually just a couple of sentences, when really, if you defined a resume very well, you could say the past experience is one paragraph, but where I want to go is all these lists of jobs underneath. So that would be an interesting way to put a resume together. Maybe you and I have created a new resume format, Rogers.
Hey, you might want to hurry up and patent it.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick moment for our sponsors to say hi to everybody. Hey, man, if you're enjoying this conversation with Rogers as much as I am, this is great, right? Drop your comments in the box and ask Rogers what you think or what you want him to answer, and we'll try to get to him by the end of the show. But when we come back, I want to talk to Rogers about his maybe some lessons learned, right? Maybe get some inspiration, some additional wisdom from him. My goodness, with the wisdom that we've gained so far has been amazing. But let's just see if we can get a little bit more wisdom nuggets from him. And drop your comments in there as to what you want to hear from him. And we'll talk about failures, successes, how to overcome that. And also, if you want to work with Rogers one-on-one, how you can reach out to him. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
This is Jessica Anderson with Faith Forward Nurse Aid Training Academy, and you are listening to Dunham Business Radio.
El censo cuenta a todos los que vivimos en este país, incluyendo aquellos que no pensarías que también cuentan. Una persona en el hospital, sí, cuenta. Miguelito que acaba de nacer, sí, Miguelito ya cuenta. Los García y los Álvarez que comparten la misma casa, sí, todos cuentan. El primo Luis que acaba de llegar al país y está viviendo en el garaje de Pedro, también cuenta. El censo cuenta a todos para que a todos nos vaya mejor.
The census counts everyone in this country, and that really means everyone. A hospital patient. Yes, that person counts. Newborn Benjamin. Yeah, little Ben now counts. Two families that live in the same house? Sure thing, they all count. Or David, who's living in his cousin Daniel's garage. He also counts. The census counts everyone to make things better for all of us.
We are having a stimulating and exciting, insightful conversation with our guest today, Rogers Vigne. Just the conversation has just been amazing. I want to ask Dennis. Dennis, what are your thoughts about the interview so far? Are you learning a lot as a millennial yourself?
I think I really do. So I really like the conversation, and I think I can try to adapt a lot to my daily life about that and my future.
Do you have the same mindset that Rogers talked about? Like you have a question about how is this going to impact me versus how is this going to impact the world?
It will definitely impact me, but it will also definitely impact the world, because when I'm changing, as Roger said about the circle and stuff, I'm also impacting the whole world about it, or at least the people around me.
Absolutely. So Rogers, let me ask you real quick, who is your ideal client? Who's your perfect client?
My ideal client are people that are looking to make the transition. When you go across that stage, whether it be a high school or college stage, you don't really have, unless you're involved professional, already pre-involved professional, or you already have a mentor, then that's a great thing, But if you don't have a plan for the degree or for how to get the things that you want your life to produce, then those are people that are ready to do that work, the introspective work, and to create the plan and to start working it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to, you don't even need to necessarily have a college degree a lot of times, because your natural innate ability to learn and master a particular thing is already there. We just need to, kind of expose it and give it opportunities to grow, whatever that may look like. So people that are ready to do that work and ready to make that transition, those are people that I love to work with.
Awesome. Well, I would say that's a majority of our audience. They're all looking to do something different and actually be in a place of transformation. That's who I would say our audience is. So let's talk about in 20 years that you've been in business, what would you say are some of your lessons learned? Let's give a little bit of wisdom back to our audience. Lessons learned about being in this industry, being as a coach, being a mentor to the millennial group, or maybe a little older. How do you relate to each of those? What are some lessons learned? And maybe even throw in a really outstanding transformation story of somebody who moved their versions of themselves to a different level that was so shocking. If you have one, I don't know.
I have a couple of favorite examples. So I had one client that she had 2 master's degrees, and she was working in the project management field, but she was like a junior level employee, and she was making around anywhere between 50, I think 55,000 per year, and again, she had almost 10 years of experience. So she has 10 years of experience. She's got 2 master's degrees. She's been, and she's basically refining in her as a person, but she did not know how to properly market herself. It's like if you take a diamond and put it in an elementary school, those kids are gonna play with it, knocking around,
Right.
But it's a diamond, so and the value that it has and the appreciation that it deserves, it won't get being in that place because it's not being properly marketed. And that's kind of what she was. So it was a fairly quick turnaround because, like I said, a lot of building blocks were there. First step of transformation is, learning who you are, realizing who you are. Like, there's so many people that don't understand who they are in the professional world, the true value that they have. That movie, The Lion King, was all about a dude that forgot who the heck he was. He's up there eating bugs where he should be standing on the mountaintop roaring, right?
Right.
So the first thing was to readjust the mindset of how she saw self. And when she started seeing the self that she really was, then she understood the value that she had to bring was 2 times that of what she was making, just from a financial standpoint in her job. And within a year, she doubled that.
Wow.
Financially.
That's amazing. That's an incredible transformation story.
And so financially, it changed, but it changed how she dressed. It changed how she walked. It changed how she, saw herself, how she interacted with people. It changed the circle of people she spent her time with, on top of that financial stuff. So when that change comes and it occurs, like what Dennis was talking about earlier in our conversation, the change, it happens in a lot of different areas at the same time.
That's exactly right. So, in one sentence, give a wisdom nugget back to our audience that they can take away. We've talked about a lot of things, but give one sentence, a wisdom nugget that would encourage our audience.
In the words of Sir Earl Nightingale, you are what you think about all day long.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. And so if there's someone out there that wants to work with you one-on-one, they want to make that transition and have that transformational experience, how do they reach you?
I can be reached. My website is mdself.com. Looks like medical doctor, but it stands for mydigitalself.com. That's our website, mdself.com. Also, I am on LinkedIn under Rogers Vigne. It's a very easy name to Google. If you Google Rogers Vigne, you'll find me very easily across all my social media platforms, and I'm open to help out anybody who reaches out.
I've been inspired and transformed over here too. So thank you so much, Rogers. You've been great. Really enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, if you want to work with Rogers directly and you want to have that transformational moment, just go to mdself.com and Rogers will be happy to talk to you about your next transformation. And we've had so much fun here. We've basically moved versions of ourselves in 1 hour, right? What we used to think before the show, we no longer think now, right? And so it's just a wonderful opportunity to embrace the new you. So thank you for helping us do that, Rogers, and thank you, audience, for being here, supporting us, and helping even our show move to the next level. We really appreciate you and all your support. If you want to be a guest on our show, just send an email to DunhamBusinessRadio@gmail.com. We would love to talk to you and see what kind of wisdom nuggets you can give back to our audience. So until next week, stay on top of the world, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Dunham Business Radio Show. Be sure to follow us at Dunham Business Radio and check out DunhamBusinessRadio.com for more info.
I'm on top of the world and now I'm living, and the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.